Welcome to Win Online, your channel for educational videos. It is exam time in most of the institutions, especially up in the north, and also it's preparation time in the schools, which will be having their annual exams by the end of February or beginning of March. So, final term exams hold a lot of weightage and a lot of importance is associated with the final term exams. And thus, they exert a lot of pressure on the students, on the teachers, on the parents, and everywhere there is a serious atmosphere because it is the time of final exams. The main thing in final exams is the setting of papers and the marking, and that is such a crucial point in final exams that if it is gone wrong in any way, then you cannot actually assess the students, you cannot reflect upon their two performance, and it creates a lot of frustration on part of the students and also on part of the teachers, and parents as well. So today's presentation is about paper setting and marking. And if you read this, a tool for assessment or a recipe for disaster, yes, it can become a recipe for disaster if the papers are not made carefully, if the papers do not reflect what the students have studied throughout the year, and if the marking is not fair and if the marking is not clear enough, it will never reflect upon the students' achievement and their performance. So, it is extremely important that we know how to set papers and how to mark them. Since it is a full short training course, so you will see some of the slides with activities on it. So, we will move on. We will ignore these and move on. So, what are the objectives of exams? What are the objectives of these placement exams? Because these are placement exams. After this, we will place the students into the next grade. Also, they are summative, one type of summative assessment because they are done at the end of the year. So, they sum up the whole performance and the achievement of the student. So, what are the objectives? The first objective is to understand the effectiveness of teaching learning process. How good was the teaching learning process? So not only learning but also the teaching, so they reflect upon your teaching as well. To check the level of understanding of students, we know this, the assessment for identifying the weak area of students and adopt suitable remediation measures for the same. So how are we going to identify the weak areas and what should be done next, what should be done in the future? To award judicious grades to students in various competencies. By judicious, I mean fair marking, a marking that truly reflects the ability of the students, and to provide a feedback about students' performance to all the stakeholders. We know who are the stakeholders: number one, the students; number two, the parents; number three, the teachers; number four, the school administration. So, if this tool, this final assessment paper, is designed carefully and all the technical aspects are taken care of, they will provide a very clear feedback to all the stakeholders that are involved in a student's education. So, number one is the preparatory activities for the students. So, what do you have to ensure? You have to ensure that the syllabus is completed. Like whatever you are using, whatever book, whatever chapters, whatever content are you using for making the paper, it should be completed, it should be completely taught, it should be explained. Nothing should be left for the last month or the last week to be done. Some quality revision is carried out. Please, revision is a very important area, and I will prepare another presentation about revision, how to do quality revision, because just telling the students to memorize the stuff and then checking them on their memory is not quality revision. Discuss the pattern of question paper and the weightage allocated to each question. So you have to discuss it with the students. What will be the pattern of the papers, how will be the questions presented in the paper, and how much marks will be allocated to what area. So some schools also have mock exams and mock papers for the students, and they give them a feel of how the paper will be, how the whole exam will be conducted. The subject wise blueprint should be prepared and submitted along with the question paper to avoid repetition of questions and testing of all areas. So, you have to prepare sample question papers and submit them along with the questions, along with the chapters that you have covered, so that things are not repeated. And main SLOs should be analyzed for testing and question framed on that. So, these days it has become easier because all the books have the SLOs in them. Focus on the SLOs, look at the SLOs, and then choose the questions. You can even design new questions, which will test the student on the basis of that SLO. So maybe there are some questions that you create at that time, but they should be from the content that is already taught to the students. Then it depends how often or how frequently you take exams from the students. So, periodicity and time scheduling. So, maybe there are two pen and paper exams in your school, maybe there are three. A minimum of two sets of question papers should be set for each subject, at least two question papers. I recommend three, at least three question papers. The headmaster or the headmistress, the exam in charge, may select a suitable one. They should be submitted in time, and then it is their choice which question do they choose. But here bear in mind that when we are doing revision, some of the teachers, they revise the paper with the students. Do not revise the paper with the students, revise the content, because that way you are only training them in those questions which are coming in the paper. That is not fair, that is not honest, and this will never reflect how much the students have gained from your teaching. The other can be used for retest or in any other value added manner, or as a mock paper can be used. So if you submit three, one can be used as a mock paper, and out of those two, one can be selected for the final paper. A mock exam should be organized and a full rehearsal should be conducted. By full rehearsal, it is meant that the seating arrangement of the students, where will they sit, how long will they sit for doing the paper, when will they do the paper, a full timetable and everything, so that it sets the scene for the upcoming exams and children get into the mood of the final exams. There are some topography details which are very, very important, because I have seen question papers, exam papers from different schools, and every paper is different from the other one. The font is different, the style is different, the way the paper is presented is different. That is very, very confusing for the students to look at the paper and to make sense, and then to attempt it. So use only one font throughout. Times New Roman or Calibri are the most famous one. Font size for the main question or heading should be 16. For the rest, it should be 14. In case of Urdu, use in-page program. Use only 1.5 double spacing. You have to make the paper readable, and it should be presented in a way in which it is easy to understand. Leave sufficient space for answers and diagrams. If especially in junior classes, we take the paper on the same question paper, the students solve it, so there should be enough space for diagrams and answers. There should be no spelling mistakes in question paper, there should be no error, so it should be double checked, triple checked. The pictures in the question paper should have well defined outlines, and the pictures should be big enough, and choosing the same pictures which the students are familiar with is a very good idea. Again, it's an activity. We will move on. Quality. Keep the SLOs in mind while setting question papers. SLO are a great guide for setting the question papers. Set the paper in such a way that the average student can attempt the paper effortlessly. So neither it should be too difficult nor too easy. Remember the mediocre student, the average student. Paper should neither be too difficult nor too easy for the students to answer. Do not allocate or allot half or 1/4 marks to any of the questions or parts. Please be very, very sure that this half number gets very messy. At the end of the day, this half marks causes problems when you are giving positions to the students. So do solid marking, 1 mark or 2 marks or 3 marks, whatever is suitable for you. Let the language be child friendly. The questions should be in a language that the children are already familiar with, not too difficult, not too vague. Again, concerning the quality, most questions could be open ended and a variety of answers can be expected from the students. Now, it depends. If you have trained your students in attempting open ended questions, by all means, add those open ended questions in the paper. The question paper should provide opportunities to the students to utilize their competencies rather than their content knowledge only. So, not only memory based questions, but questions where you can really see that how well have they understood the content. Marks allocated for each question should be shown on the question paper. In the question paper, the question paper must have illustrations and the question paper must be proofread before printing. I say proofread it more than once before printing it. So before the final version, the paper should go through all this process of proofreading, checking, rechecking, and then it should be the final one. Validation question papers must be submitted to the exam department with the signature of all the parallel teachers. They must be supplemented with the blueprint and a precise scoring guide. For questions which can have more than one answer, a small note may be added. So the teacher who is preparing the question paper, she should sign the paper. The coordinator or the person who has received the paper should sign the paper. It should also have the signature of the headmistress or the principal. And a scoring guide should be provided with all the papers. How will they be marked? Remember, scoring guide is not what is written on the question paper, the marks that you are writing against every question. A guide that how will you mark these questions, which answers will be considered wrong and which answers will be considered right. The subject coordinator should check the paper and sign it too. The subject coordinator and head of the school are responsible for the quality and standard of the papers in all respect. Post test analysis and feedback for the students. The teachers should guide the students to analyze their strong and weak areas while returning the corrected answer scripts and have an informal discussion with them as to how the weakness can be addressed. So, if you are doing a mock exam, please do not just leave it with the marks only. Discuss the papers with the students. Tell them what mistakes have they made, what were the problems, how can they overcome those. The students can be asked to write a brief goal statement for themselves and for the teacher to improvise instructional strategies. So maybe the students can reflect upon their performance and share it with the teacher. What do they think about their paper or about their mock test? Understand and bridge the gap in communication between the teacher and the taught. Identifying the weak areas of the students and adopt suitable remediation measures for the same. For parents working together to help the children, maybe you can call a parent teacher meeting after the mock exam and discuss with the parents also and share the statement or the self analysis that the students have done, the self evaluation that they have done. Share that also with the parents and help them understand how can they help their children. Post test analysis feedback for the teachers and parents. For the teachers to improvise instructional strategies, your mock exam will give you a fair idea of which areas to revise again with the students. Understand and bridge the gap in communication between the teacher and the taught. Identify the weak area of students and adopt suitable remediation measures. And this I have shared already. Parents should be working together with the teachers. Now, the important bit is no repetition of questions within a question paper and from test paper to test paper. The area tested can be the same, like the chapter can be the same, but the question should never be the same. There is a very, what should I say, bad practice in which the students they collect past 5 years papers and prepare for exams from those papers because they know that these are the favorite questions of the teachers and they will come in the exam again. So that is just a test of memory, just revising the same stuff. You are not assessing the students' achievement and performance. The area tested can be the same, but the questions must be framed differently. If questions from the previous year paper are being sourced, they need to be reframed. If there is a question that is so important that it has to be included again, so reframe the question. Do not just pick the question and put it again. Just reword the question. So that's all. There are so many areas that you have to look at. It is a serious time for the students, for you. And if really really you want to assess their achievement and their academic achievements particularly, then you have to take this exam very very seriously. So it should not be a recipe for disaster. It should be a tool for assessment. So good luck with paper making. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to our channel, like, share, and comment. If you want this presentation, write in the comment and I will share this presentation with you. Thank you so much.